I might do the whole story another time, my take on it, but Prince William's godmother got caught in this race row. And, some people are trying to give her a pass because she's 83 years of age. So, what's the weird thing about people? Is they try and say things like, we don't have experience of the things they're talking about. Like a lot of us don't have grandparents. I've had grandparents. They're both gone now, deceased. Both my parents are gone as well. And there's no transcript or reports that this woman has dementia or she has some mental illness. But I don't want to talk about race or this topic. I don't think it's that important. I'm just talking about people defending her age. I'm not really interested if you think she was racist or if she wasn't. Not interested. So I'd ask you to refrain from going into the meat of that debate there. I'm just talking about her age and people giving her a pass because of her age. Like people give Bob Arum a pass on some of the crass things he says because he's old. Same goes for Carlos Padilla and his daughter, saying that Carlos at 88 is just too old to be held responsible for his admission to assisting Manny Pacquiao to victory in a fight with Nedal Hussein. According to Carlos, he gave Pacquiao a long count to recover from a knockdown, ignored an illegal headbutt committed by Manny. No points deduction. The butt led to the fight being stopped when Hussein was cut. Mauricio Suleiman, who sanctioned the bout back in 2000, has addressed the controversy in an official statement. And it was Susie who replied, because, while I can accept at 88 he might not be as coherent a communicator as he used to, it just seems too detailed for him to have made this up. And we know there's corruption in boxing, and there's definitely going to be corruption in boxing in the Philippines with someone like Manny Pacquiao. Now, in 2000, he wasn't who he is today in terms of notoriety, but he was still the biggest thing out there in 2000. And when you get polarizing figures like Manny Pacquiao, corruption will follow. Like Carlos Padilla said, he was told before the fight that it was an important fight for Pacquiao's career. Carlos said, I am a Filipino, and everybody is a Filipino watching the fight, Padilla said. So I prolonged the count. I know how to do it. When he gets up, I say to him, are you okay? Which is prolonging the fight. Pacquiao was knocked down later in the round, but Hussein was deducted a point for an elbow, and Padilla said he allowed Pacquiao more recovery time. It's too detailed for him to have made all that up. And look, old people are a lot cleverer than us because when they lose their physicality, they have to tune up their brain even more to compensate. He's not making that up, Susie. He's telling the truth. It doesn't reflect bad on Manny. This is the industry doing what they have to do to preserve a potential superstar. Manny wasn't a world champion yet. The fight was stopped in the 10th round. Padilla said, Pacquiao is shorter, he butted the other guy as a cut. I declare it a punch, said Padilla. If there is a butt, you have to stop the fight and say to the judge's headbutt, that's a point deduction, and it goes to the scorecards, or a no contest, depending where the fight's located and the board or commission's rulings. But if you don't do that, the fight continues. That says it's a good punch. Padilla said he delayed medical treatment for Hussein, then attempted to influence the ringside's doctor's decision to have the fight stopped. It takes away my responsibility because as a referee, that is the best way to do it. Let the doctor stop the fight. There's no way this is made up. No way. Hussein, who was 22 at the time, was unbeaten in 19 fights, told Fox Sports that he has never been the same since the defeat. That guy Padilla, he took everything from me. He took my soul, Hussein said. Hussein now runs a gym in Sydney. He won his next 17 fights before losing on points to Mexico's WBC super bantamweight champion Oscar Larios in his first world title fight in 2004. He then lost to Scotland's Scott Harrison in 2005 when fighting for the WBO World Featherweight title. It doesn't matter which way you go with it. Like when they tried to take Buster Douglas's titles after he knocked out Mike Tyson. That was corruption. And Don King wasn't allowed to get away with it. Tyson lost the fight fair and square, yeah? Whether the referee counted too long and let Douglas get up in time, Douglas got up when he was required to, and he won the fight. Don King, who was aligned with the WBC, convinced the WBC and then the WBA not to recognize Douglas as champion. Tyson was still champion. Then public opinion and media pressure forced both them sanctioning bodies to concede and give Douglas his belts back. The IBF, credit to them, they never stripped Douglas. They didn't strip him. There's 3 belts at the time. Well, there was 4 belts, but the consensus standard was 3 belts for undisputed. The IBF never stripped Buster Douglas. Pure corruption. Pure corruption. Or Roland Dakin when he scored all of the rounds basically for Alan Minter against Antofermo. And he got called out by the Nevada State Athletic Commission that he was a prejudicial judge. And he was. He didn't even try and be clever about his bias and about his corruption. The British judge just scored all the rounds for the British fighter in Las Vegas, basically. You know, or when Ali got the verdict over Ken Norton, the narrative went out there that they couldn't afford Ali to lose because there was no other draws in boxing. Sugar Ray Leonard was still early in the game, making his way as a pro, and they needed Ali to win the fight, to flagship the sport in America. Julio Cesar Chavez Sr. hit Miguel Ruiz with a late blow after the bell rang, knocked him out, was DQ'd, and that stood in the record books for 4 years. But Chavez's manager, Ramon Felix, I know this story off the top of the head, was a member of the Culican Boxing Board, and he got the result reversed. Chavez was on the come-up at the time. This was around 1981, 1982. He didn't lose until 1984, where he amassed a record of 89-0, and most people think that was a legit record. No, it wasn't. It wasn't. Bert Blewett, the South African journalist, in his book of records, he exposed to the masses what really happened. And the real Mexican boxing fans, the ones who are objective, really objective, and not just fanboys because Chavez is a hero over there, they needed Pacquiao to win the fight. And they did everything they could to make that a reality. And they achieved it. And Nadal Hussein, his career suffered for that.
Channel 5 events, we saw how well this platform does. Last Friday night, Harlem Eubank, in his first ever main event on Channel 5, smashed the whole boxing, and it was a big boxing weekend, to absolute smithereens. In fact, I would call it a first round, first minute knockout, with 1.88 million viewers on terrestrial television.
It's a big number. What Kelly is basically saying, it beat out Dillian versus Franklin, DAZN, Parker versus Ryder, Queensbury, and Azim versus Charlton on Sunday, Sky. It beat all 3 of them out, terrestrial television. Let's consider that Harlem Eubank is not a British champion. This wasn't for a British title. Tom Farrell is not an elite British talent. He's nowhere near championship level. Harlem Eubank is probably on the cusp of challenging a Dalton Smith for the British title. But this went for a British title. And this is the reach that terrestrial television has. And if Channel 5 are serious about what they're doing, yes, they could challenge Queensbury, Sky, and DAZN on the domestic front, and maybe even on the world front as well. Mick Hennessy's son, Mick Hennessy Jr., he used to fight on Mick Hennessy's cards alongside the dude who was on Love Island, the black brother, the McKenna brothers. They used to fight on there. And they weren't producing the fights that Nice and Cali are producing right now. Udolphia and Bentley for the British title was really good. I don't think Udolphia is no longer with the Sowlands after he lost. Josh Kelly Williamson, I was surprised they didn't sell the arena out, but if they get 7,000 or 8,000 up there in Newcastle, the place is going to be rocking. It's going to be rocking. I think the masterstroke is Mick Hennessy was putting his cards on Saturday, and even if there weren't no big cards on BT or Sky or DAZN on Saturday, people were used to getting their content from them guys on Saturday. And the cards would get overlooked on Channel 5. But Friday is the new date for Channel 5, where you can see good domestic boxing, British title fights, and good action, free of charge terrestrial. Like, arguably, the best fighter that Mick Hennessy had on Channel 5 was Shaq Peters, and he got knocked out by Craig Spider Richards, who was a Matchroom fighter for the British title. Cali and Nice have the better fighters, and they have quantity as well. They got more money behind them with Wasserman. So don't want to gas them up too much. There's still a lot of work to do. But we've had 2 British title fights on. No subscription, no pay-per-view, no nothing. Free to air. And may long it continue. Hennessy Jr. was saying Channel 5 disrespected them the way they terminated the tenure. But they've landed back on their feet somewhat. You know, they are a bit player to Ben Shalom, and they help reinforce Ben's Boxer XX cards with the roster that Mick Hennessy has. You know, so they're not out the loop totally. Okay, Joel McIntyre, 34 years of age, fights 24, 120, losses 4, draws 0. Let's see how Linden does. Is he going to box safely? If Linden takes the safety first approach, he should win relatively easy. The whole thing, though, is you want to try and look good. You want to try and look a bit good, yeah? If possible. You either shine or you get hit by some stuff that you don't need to get hit by. Linden got them long arms, good stiff jab. He's fit. We know he's fit. How do we know he's fit? Because Pat Barrett is training him. And you know who trained Pat Barrett? Brian Hughes, right? So we know he's in good nick. How does he approach the fight? I shouldn't say it's not about McIntyre. If Linden sticks to his boxing behind the jab and is really stingy, does some stingy boxing, McIntyre doesn't get a sniff. But we'll see. It's just started now. McIntyre, he's crouching, dipping up and down, tries a right hand, it misses. He's got that little bob and weave thing going. Hands are very low, McIntyre, very low. Does he know what he's doing? We'll see. Very low hands. He's got his left hand down by his thigh, people. By his thigh. Linden, moving at range. He's voluntarily went to the corner. Interesting. He's tied up. McIntyre is trying to work inside. He's got that right hand wrapped up. Linden got his left hand very low as well. They both got their hands very low. It's the first round. If one of them gets caught, they could get caught cold first round. McIntyre trying a little step thing with his lead foot. Moving it left and right. Moving left and right. Trying to make himself a difficult target. Linden tried a little combo there. Didn't really commit to it though. Good jab by Linden. A right came over the top. That's a good combination. Very solid boxing. That's very good. McIntyre hasn't learned. The right hand is still extremely low. He got hit by that right hand and it's still very low. So he believes he's a reflex guy. Well, let's see. Let's see about that. Okay, he's trying some upper body movement there, which is okay. If you're going to keep it low, move your upper body a little. Tries a jab to the chest, pushes Linden back but doesn't connect solidly. Linden is winning the round behind his jab even though he's not throwing a lot. That's a good jab. That's a better one. Yeah, Linden playing very stingy. He let Joel lead off, slipped the punch and then tied him up. I mean, he hasn't got Anthony Yarde in front of him. Oof. They both went for it there. What landed? We'll need to see the slow motion. No one's hurt though. They both tried to throw big right hands there in the middle of the ring. 15 seconds on the clock. Linden on the back foot. Boxing on the back foot cautiously. Controlling it behind the jab. Throws a jab there as McIntyre tried a left hand. Flicking the jab out there, Linden. Cautious round, but you'd have to give Linden that round. One up, Linden. Okay, there is Pat Barrett and Linden in the corner. Pat barking the instructions at Linden. Great jab. See the right hand there? Your hand's too low, McIntyre. I mean, look where his hand is where he got caught. I mean, if you're going to do that, you have to try and pull the hand back. When he got caught with that right hand, he didn't even get the hand up to the chest. So what Linden hasn't done, he hasn't jabbed to the body. If Linden jabs to the body successfully and comes over the top with that right... Oh, there's a right hand over the top. McIntyre took it very well. Linden working everything off the jab. Now, if McIntyre's got a good chin and he can just walk through everything and pressure Linden, then we'll have a fight. And that looks like what he's trying to do. It looks like he's trying to impose his will on Linden, that he's not going to be hurt. No matter how much right hands and jabs he takes, he's going to keep with that mental pressure, keep trying to come forward, creep forward out of that crouch, that little bob and weave thing he's got going there. And eventually he's going to get close up on Linden and work him over. Linden needs to get something really clean on the target area and deter him from doing that. If he's going to be so reckless, that left hand is so low. It's so low. I mean, Linden has his low, but oh, there it is. His legs go everywhere. You can't box like that. His legs just like...
The legs are buckled under him there. He's really like a kid stumbling in a playpen.
He's okay. He's okay. I think and he's swinging wildly. Linden going for the finish. Linden should take his time. Good shot by Linden. This guy's just not on Linden's level. Can he come back with something? He's showing guts there. Oh, good shot by Linden. Oh, taking too much, ref. No, he's okay. He's rallied back. He's rallied back. Oh, what a shot by Linden. Oh, what a shot. He's going to knock him out. Referee needs to get in. Needs to get in. Needs to get in. Needs to get in. Okay, second round win for Linden. He looked good. He had the perfect opponent who didn't give a damn about defense. Didn't give a damn about defense. His cornerman, let's say he's a B-level fighter, Joel McIntyre, that's fair enough, right? But for you to let your guy come out there with his left hand that low against somebody with a good jab and 1-2, like, what are you playing at? What are you playing at? What are you playing at? One of the best jabs in Britain at this weight class, right? One of the best. And your left hand is down by your waist. What is that? It was just a matter of time. He needed an iron chin to win this fight because Linden was working everything. Here it goes. Here it goes. Here it goes. Bang. Look, when he gets hit, people, his left hand is on his shorts. He's got his left hand on his shorts. Bruh. His left, look where his hand's in. It's on his shorts. His left hand is on his shorts, bruh. Madness. Suicide. Good finish by Linden, though. Beautiful shot. Look at that uppercut. Oh, yeah, he had to stop that. He's just taking too much punches and they threw the towel in as well. Good stuff by Linden. Good stuff. McIntyre looked very dejected in the corner. He had a lot of ambition going in. He had a lot to say for himself. There's Sonny Edwards, Linden's key brethren. This is where Sonny should be. Sonny should be on this platform here. This would be a great platform for Sonny to have a world champion defending his IBF title on Channel 5. How about Dan Aziz next for Lyndon Arthur? That's a big fight. I think Dan Aziz is fighting, was it Rocky Fielding? Is that still happening? I remember seeing a video this week. Don't be surprised if Linden pops up on DAZN taking on Callum Smith after this win. That's an interesting fight. Josh Kelly outpointed Troy Williamson unanimously to win the 154-pound British title. Josh counterpunched for most of the fight. Wasn't very aggressive. Troy's accuracy, I don't know, he fell in with his shots, maybe landed 2 or 3 good punches throughout the fight. Was there an argument that his aggression wasn't rewarded a little more? The referee, I think, admonished him a little too much for roughhousing. I know everyone's going to say it wasn't effective aggression, and I can't argue with that. I don't like watching Josh Kelly fight. I don't want to prejudice against any fighter if they're effective, and I hate doing that, but I don't like watching him fight. I didn't agree with George Groves that he was 6 up after 6 rounds. I didn't agree. But ultimately, all the noteworthy scoring shots came from Josh Kelly. Troy was too predictable, too telegraphed. He held his left hand up. He doesn't feint before he jabs or anything like that, or he attempts offense. And Josh Kelly saw the jab from miles off. And as for him trying to land a 1-2 behind that jab, there was just no hope. No hope at all. Josh just went missing. Williamson's best work, I guess, was to the body. And I still protest that there's a lot of fighters who score body shots and people don't really care about body shots. They might play lip service to, body shots do count as scoring punches. But a lot of people ignore that. And Kelly landed all the fancy looking headshots. He had Troy in trouble in the first round. And then inexplicably, he backed off in the second round and didn't push the pace when you could see he had the superior punch variety. Horrible to watch. And I've got no arguments about the decision, but to me, it was a close fight because he simply just didn't produce enough. And there's people marveling over the performance, talking about he was styling in there. Styling? That wasn't styling, bruh. Fair enough. He landed any of the accurate punches, but you go abroad and box like that. See if you come back with any title. You go on any away territory. European title, world title, you'll come back with nothing. Trust me. But yeah, he did land some beautiful looking uppercuts and left hooks in there. He did. I can't take that away. I was just bored, frustrated. The fight never got into a rhythm. The referee kept admonishing Troy against an opponent who was content just to stay on the ropes and cover up and make his opponent miss and not always make his opponent pay. But Troy looked terrible in there. There's no way you could have given Troy a decision in all truth. Yeah? In all truth. And I don't expect a lot of people to agree with the video, and you're entitled to do so. The right man probably won, but I weren't overwhelmed by it one bit, personally. He did show he was tougher than skeptics might have thought. Josh
and Adam Booth, they had a game plan and they stuck with it, and he was disciplined with it, and credit due to him on that, and credit on becoming British champion.
This is the third time you're facing Tyson Fury. The first two were unsuccessful attempts, but great fights.
Now, respect to Radio Raheem, but respectfully, there's no way you could have seen the second fight to say the first two fights were great fights. The first fight was a very good fight, but the second was one of the most one-sided, anticipated fights in this country. It wasn't a great fight. So either you were trying to gas Derek Chisora up or gloss over it, or you didn't see the fight. Which one is it? But there he is telling Derek Chisora, you fought him twice, and they were both great fights. What's going on? What's going on here? If you didn't watch the fights, just say you didn't watch them. I wouldn't say anything at all. I wouldn't say one word. If you didn't watch them, you didn't watch them. But when you're going to make stuff up and pass that off as information to those who are ill-informed, it's not good. It really isn't good. Because on the strength of your word, people are going to take that as gospel. And I guess, that's the problem I have, is glossing over details like that is not acceptable. But what I'm realizing now is boxing fans don't give a shit anyway. They don't give a shit about that. And the journalists sure don't give a shit about it. It's all about clickbaity, breaking news, yeah? Rather than give you a breakdown of the news, even if it's 2 weeks after the story broke, rather than giving you a detailed breakdown and bring some other facts to make the story even more compelling, historical facts, quotes from the industry that might back the story up and make it even more informative, they're giving you their version of this fast food boxing journalism. And what it is, I grew up on the magazines. I grew up on Nigel Collins. I grew up on Ron Lewis. I grew up on these people. And even though I may use more obscenities than they do, which I shouldn't, I remember how detailed their work was. So yes, I do make typos. I make typo. But he actually glossed over a fight that he clearly didn't see.
You're faking the phone. Yo, you're faking the phone.